Business Insider. This is when Louisiana Delta Community College shares our spotlight with business and industry partners and what we have going on. We are so excited to share EPC, Etheridge Pipeline and Conduit today. We have created the first trenchless utility training program in the state of Louisiana, and we are super excited to share how this innovative program got started. What we really want to highlight is the partnership, the conversations, and then how it turned into a curriculum and a program. Josh, will you share a little bit about how we met, how the discussion started, and how this one-day conversation now has turned into the first training program in the state?
How we met. I think we were both in Leadership Watchdog.
Right.
Which trying to do our part for the community, try to get involved. And I think we just started talking about what we could do to, better the community. How could we help the community? And as we spitballed, I think it was you that was like, it sounds like you have a need.
That's right.
And I got to talking about the money coming towards the state and towards the industry, which our industry is utility deployment, construction for fiber optic networks. And so when COVID came through, obviously we saw the pandemic affect everybody differently, but as far as the rural communities, it really spotlighted the fact that we don't have any internet to these rural communities.
Right. And I know that you and I had those conversations, not just that there was a need there, but there was going to be some funding that came to the state, and that we wanted to make sure that we had a trained workforce. Now, Dr. Esters, I know that you've been on several of the rural broadband phone calls regarding the training programs and the initiatives. How does what we're doing tie into what the state is doing and really what the workforce mission is of Louisiana Delta Community College?
I had a mentor years ago tell me that nothing pulls a plan together like the last minute.
I love that, yes.
And we're at the last minute for installing these utilities of broadband. And we, as training institutions, have a responsibility to prepare the workforce so that they can go to work here, make a good living here, and stay here. And y'all have a term that y'all, shirt changers or something like that?
Shirt swappers.
Shirt swappers. Mm-hmm. So workers generally come from out of state and they travel to do that particular line of work. But there's no reason why our people here can't be trained.
Right.
And we keep them home, we pay them well, and that was the whole idea behind this, is that the time is now. Let's train a workforce, let's keep them home, let's give them a good salary so that they can have the quality of life that they expect and deserve.
And I know with this program, we've talked about having 4 different stretch marks through it, where you've got one track here, one track there. We've initiated the first track. But we've also taken each one of those programs and we have put them through the process where they're now approved for the MJ Foster Promise program. So there's going to be funding available starting in July for those students who want to go through these programs. But for the one that we just initiated, we didn't have any funding for it. Y'all partnered with us and provided all of the supplies, the equipment, a lot of the training. You and Caleb were there several days doing the actual work. So with that type of partnership, how did that evolve, and why did y'all think it was important for you to spend time away from your business to create this training program?
Like Dr. Esther was talking about, a lot of the time when you see this money come through, you see these companies bid on these projects, and then once they get them, they start approaching other people's employees. That's not creating any jobs in the workforce. As he was saying, that's shirt swapping. And it really doesn't do anything for the community or any of the people in it. So as you and I got to talking about how can we improve that, so we started looking at these programs, and it's really going to be somewhat of a farm system for all these, whether it's us or anybody else in the area. Now you have a capable, trained, skilled workforce in a field that is going to do nothing but grow. You know, back in the day, we used to consider internet almost a privilege. But now, when you buy a house, you don't ask how much is the electricity bill.
Right.
You ask what?
Do you have internet
Do
accessibility?
you have internet?
That's right.
Because
Right.
kids got to watch
You got to
Hulu.
have internet.
You
That's
got to
right.
watch Netflix. So, I mean, these are things that people want and need. And for the longest time, it was almost protected as a utility. And that's not the truth, because the people in rural areas just don't have that type of availability to those things. And so as we've seen that need start growing, it's going to be just like anything else.
Right.
You have a power man that comes out to your house, and everybody always says, like, my husband works for the power company. He has such a great job. Well, truth is, these guys that do these utilities, that send these communication guys out there, that's a great job.
That's right.
It's a utility just as necessary as the power to your home.
So I know when we got the programs approved for the MJ Foster Promise Plan, they have to be a 4 or a 5-star job. And all of the new training programs that we've put in place are actually 5-star jobs. And that really means that it is a high wage, high demand income earning opportunity training program. Now, Dr. Esters, I know you were out there a couple of different days, and you were, I think you even maybe got to drive some of the equipment and test it out.
Yeah, their guards wasn't good enough to keep me off.
So maybe share with everybody why it's so critical for us to have these type of partnerships and what that means to us as a school and the programs that we can deliver to students.
Yeah. You know, back years and years ago, I never thought I'd get so old to say that back in the day, but back in the day, the way it worked was the trainer, the college, whatever, had a box program, and they'd go to the industry and say, here, industry, this is what we have, and we hope that you can use it. Well, industry now has gotten so diversified, and their needs are so different, that we have to back that up and work from what the employers need.
Right.
So we at Delta are industry driven. Everything we do has input from industry. If what we do does not meet the need of our business partners and our industry partners, then we really don't have a reason to be doing them. So we have an ear to the ground to listen to what's needed at the work site. The best way to get that done is through a partnership like this, to where there's a conversation, because people say, what can Delta do? You know, Delta is made of people. Delta is the Johns and the Wendys and the Randys, and it's people. And in industry are people. So when people sit at a table and start talking about what does industry need, what are their needs for as specific skill sets, and we can provide it. If there's a skill set that we don't have in-house that we can't provide, I can almost guarantee you that we know somebody who does.
Right.
So if it's not provided by Delta, then we'll go to BIPSI, or we'll go to Northwest or Soella or somewhere that has that training. So there's always, the answer is always yes, if you need training and if you need a skill set. So this partnership was, I'll confess, it's probably the best I've ever seen, because when you get the partners, the owners of the company, working with the guys and girls on the equipment that they're going to use at the work site, and the owners of the company saying, you need to put this tool back in this spot to be successful. I don't know how it gets any better.
I will have to say this has really been phenomenal. Y'all have stepped up in every kind of way. You were on the work sites, you brought your equipment, you were always smiling even when things weren't going great.
It's a lot of fun.
Even after I drove their equipment and didn't break it, so they were.
He didn't break it.
Yeah.
And really what was more impressive is that we were having these conversations in September, October, and we launched the training program mid-January. So it wasn't like we talked about this for 2.5 or 3 years. It was a conversation. I knew y'all had a need. I didn't know that we could deliver everything, but I knew if y'all were helping us, we could deliver it all. And you brought specialized trainers in. You volunteered your time. You volunteered your equipment. And now look at where we're at. First program in the state. Whoop, whoop. So talking about that and talking about developing the program so quickly, we didn't have a lot of the equipment on site. We don't have a bucket truck that I know of, and we don't have, what is it, that vacuum?
Vactron?
Yeah, we don't have that. I don't know what that is. But y'all brought all of that. I mean,
ma'am.
on the West Monroe campus, there were days that it really looked like it was the EPC office. And when I talk about that this is a true partnership, I really mean that y'all provided us with everything that we needed to make it successful. And we want to do everything we can to provide you with strong employees to make your company successful. And I know, Dr. Esters, that's really one of the things that you champion, is that if we work with industry partners and give them what they need.
That's right. They'll not only come back, but the other part of this that was so wonderful is that not only did you guys come to the table, but you brought your subcontractors and your
Right.
friends, and
Right.
they got an understanding of what we could do. So now that whole network has just really grown.
It's really snowballed. We brought in some subject matter experts. We work with, CenterPoint Energy and other people in the industry, and we brought them in to give their 2 cents on what they like to see out of a contractor. Yeah. With their input, you just get a better employee.
Yeah.
So we wanted, when we had a mud mixing day, we brought in drill right. When we had a day on the drill, we brought in ditch witch. You can't get any better training than directly from
Absolutely.
the representative.
Right. And I think that is why this has been so successful and the next phases will be so successful, is because this really is industry driven for industry to create opportunities in a new industry that has got funding today. So we are so thankful and excited for this partnership. Stay tuned. We're going to visit with the Director of Advanced Technology, John Garrison, and we'll also have Josh back to share a little bit about the curriculum and how we made this work one step at a time. Thanks so much. Welcome back to LDCC Business Insider. Today I have with me John Garrison, our Director of Advanced Technology, and Josh Etheridge with Etheridge Pipeline and Conduit. Josh was instrumental in creating the curriculum for the program that we've just completed, and John was our instructor and he was the curriculum developer. What I really want to share with our audience today is how did we create the curriculum and what did it look like from a student standpoint and from an industry standpoint, Josh, because you were really critical in designing the curriculum and what we did.
We actually worked backwards. We started with what we wanted to see out of an employee, and then we started working our way back. I got with John, and Caleb got with John, and we started saying, these are the things out of a model employee. And we were saying, we don't really want to just have somebody that's trained to the minimum amount. We want them to have the features of an employee that thinks about the little things, that the little things, that the nuances that over time could add up to a lot of money or failures in the process. So that's what we tried to focus on. Obviously, we want to get the big picture as well, right. But the nuances is what we really focused on. And
so now tell me, why is this program so new and exciting? Why are we talking about it today, John? Why have we not been doing this?
Well, the need has come across, and everyone knows that everyone's talking about rural broadband.
Right.
Well, that's how all this began. There's a large demand for the number of workers that are needed to install and put in these installations across all of our rural areas. We have a large amount of rural areas here in North Louisiana.
So, Josh, kind of walk us through what it is your company is actually doing and how the training is going to benefit your company directly and possibly some of our other industry partners.
Well, what it is our company does is we actually lay the fiber. If you'll think about it like an interstate pipeline, we are getting the majority of the information out to these rural areas. And then from there, we're putting it home to home to make sure that some of these underserved areas, even non-served areas, get fiber optic and internet to their house. COVID did a great job of putting a spotlight on the fact that some children have no access to internet and they have no ability to get access to internet. It's just too costly. And so when the federal government and state government came through and give this funding, it really created this huge need in the area for this underground utility program. And so what we do is we actually install the fiber using a method of trenchless technology. That's a directional drill. I know a lot of people wondering what those big things are. They're sitting on the side of the road. Everybody sees them. They got orange cones around them, but nobody knows what they do. So John came out and we worked with him to show him kind of how this process works. We spent a lot of time just going over the process. And what we do is we basically start on one end and we drill under the ground at a certain depth, and we can maneuver that around other utilities, just to give a brief overview. And when it comes up out of the ground, we're 500, 600 foot down the road. And then we grab our product, fiber in this case, and pull it back under the ground, pulling it back into place.
So would you say that this is a skill set that most people walking around have, or is this something that you really need to learn to do? Because I'm assuming when you say you're going around other utilities, if I hit that,
there's a lot of liability there.
Okay, so John, as you're working on creating the curriculum and the training program, I know that Caleb and Josh were both very instrumental. What type of equipment and what type of training did the students have in place?
We ended up with a good bit of a training involved in it, and we plan on expanding, which we may can talk about later. We started off with we're assuming someone off the street that doesn't know the business itself. So we do start it out with a lot of basics, a lot of core curriculum, and then we go into OSHA 10 for more safety. And we start indoctrinating them into the actual ancillary equipment that goes along with the directional drilling. Some of the things, some of the other equipment like line locating, mud mixing, and then we move them into the vacuum trailers, and then we eventually get into the directional drilling portion, which is kind of toward the end, so we kind of build it up and then go right up to the directional drilling right toward the end.
Now, I know that we had your equipment on our property, and we appreciate this partnership so much because really it is a partnership. Etheridge pipeline and conduit trucks, your ditch witch was there. We didn't have a $250,000 ditch witch hanging around. Y'all did. Thank you very much for allowing us to use that. That was such a true partnership. But now, did we start the students on the real piece of equipment, or did we have any other starting points for them?
We have a heavy equipment simulator, which really helped us out a lot when we started doing the basics of trenching and excavation. We actually went and developed a competent person excavation certification, which was really instrumental. But due to they're going to be down in these ditches, they need to know a lot of things and trenches. And we put them on our simulators. It's very safe, very cost effective. And then we also have a ditch witch directional drilling simulator in which they got to practice on and develop some muscle memory. And believe it or not, most of the students, once they ran the simulator, and they all enjoyed it. That was their favorite part of the training. Once we got out on the actual equipment, all we kept hearing was, the simulator is much more difficult than the real equipment. So it was
really
a lot of fun.
It really is.
But the great part of the simulation is that you don't have to be worried about running into anything, and you get those practice runs, which are so important.
It really holds you to the criteria of drilling too. It puts some different simulations in place to make you think outside of just getting it from here to there.
So I know that we've done the trenchless utility training program once, and we've got another one scheduled, but I think we're looking at some additional programs and add-ons. I know that there is a need for the utility lineman program, the gas technician program. We're going to have the CDL component in this. So just share a little bit about why these programs are important, what that means to your industry, and how people can get invested in what we're doing. How did this partnership with y'all really come about?
Well, as we started seeing the program come together, we started looking for industry experts. And we brought those guys in, and it literally just snowballed. And you'd be surprised how many people just want to get involved. And they're like, wow, you guys are doing more than just taking from other contractors, taking from other areas and cross-training them. You're actually coming up with a new workforce.
Right.
And that's what I believe we're all here for. And so you start doing that, and you start realizing, like, wow, we could really start impacting the community with a lot of other needs that are in the utility industry. And so some of these other needs are a little more specific. The gas technician, which we have a natural gas side, we do distribution gas lines, and it's a little more specific. You're going to need a lot more training with fusion and welding and other components that come into play. It's a lot more regulated. So as we train these guys, they're going to have even more under their belt and to take throughout life as a skill and as a certification. And then also, you were talking about the lineman program. Right. A lot of this money that's coming from the state, they want it in the air. And it's not.
And we want to keep it here.
Yeah, and we want to keep it here. And that's kind of the idea, is like, let's train these guys up, let's give them a skill, and let's put them climbing a pole. We don't want to get them out there first day and say, climb that pole.
Right.
You want to baby step into that. So.
Well, and I think that's why this partnership has been so important to us. You and your brother Caleb have really stepped up and said, I want to do everything I can to create a workforce for this region that will stay in this region. So the money that we're bringing in through the Rural Broadband Initiatives stays at home and gives people an opportunity to grow. And really, that's what Louisiana Delta Community College is about. Our mission is workforce development, and partnering with y'all and having that same vision has been phenomenal. And I'm excited to see where this is going to go and how we can grow. We are the first in the state of Louisiana to offer any of the trenchless utility training program. We'll be the first one to do the utility lineman, and we'll be the first one to do the gas technician training programs. So when you think about that, we're cutting edge, and it's really just because we met and had a conversation, and you said, what can you do? And I said, I don't know. Let's see what we can do.
It's exciting. Like you said, people ask, how is Etheridge Pipeline, Etheridge Performance Cable growing so fast? And it's not because of anything me and Caleb are doing. It's really our people and the people that we associate and partner with, such as yourself. And we have a shared vision, which is what me and Caleb like to call a just cause.
Right.
And our just cause is what our employees and the people around us can get behind. And our just cause is simply to put local people to work and support local North Louisiana families.
Absolutely. And John, I want to thank you for all the hard work that you've done on this program. It really started with a simple vision. There was nothing in place. I know that you ran point often with Caleb and Josh figuring this out. Yeah. One thing that you've learned from the training program of how we're delivering to our region that has really surprised you, what would you say that one thing is?
The biggest thing is, when we go to try and develop these partnerships, there's the money supply is king, whether it be production or service, and the money supply is king. And it's those partnerships like EPC has provided with us, those partnerships of, yes, growing their business is important, yes, making the money is important, but they actually came to the table and put their money and their labor and their time where their mouth is. He was out there teaching classes too, because I'm not the omnipotent in that field. These guys do it every day. So they were really, really instrumental in making this really happen as a whole.
Can I say something?
You can.
It really is a talent to be able to teach people. It's something that I am learning or trying to learn from John, but it is a talent.
We had fun out there with those students. So he and Caleb were getting exhausted as I was. I was learning their side and they were learning my side, and it was really fun.
Well, I love the fact that this really is a true partnership and what you're bringing to the school and to the region, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate y'all sharing your time today with us on LDCC Business Insider. Y'all, partnerships are key for our students to be able to grow. MJ Foster Promise starts July 1st, and there are funding opportunities for the short-term training programs. But for our industry partners, when we can partner with you and create customized training specifically to your industry needs, we can change our region by changing our workforce. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks.